Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Arsenal Daily Transfer Series, our show in which we look at the players that have been linked to Arsenal. We look at them and try to make sense of the chaos that has been going on surrounding the club. And every single day now, it seems that Arsenal are being linked to just a ridiculous amount of new players. It's almost like they want to link us to every single player on the planet right now, just to get us that little bit more excited. As the day of the Euros, of course, kicks off as well. I hope you're going to be joining us for our content throughout the Euros. We're going to be looking at some specific Arsenal transfer targets that are going to be on display, and plenty more to come as well as always the usual 8 a.m. morning transfer shows. They're not going anywhere, and the tactical breakdowns on the players that we're being linked to as well. Good morning, guys, in the chat box. I hope you're all doing good. I hope you're doing well. I can see plenty of you. And good evening, of course. Good day, wherever you are. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. I do notice, though, that apparently my green T-shirt was a bad idea. Deary me, a bad idea, considering now I'm glowing, clearly, on the outside. Amateurish mistake to just throw on a green T-shirt in front of a green screen. Always the consummate professional that I am. Anyway, let's kick off with today's first video, of course, and talk about a goalkeeper that I think a lot of us would like to want to see us stay at Arsenal next season. Of course, Matt Ryan did join us on loan from Brighton last season. And I think that when we think about the fact that he did only play 3 games, even when we saw those 3 games, I was quite confident in his ability. I was happy with him as our kind of backup keeper, if you want to call him that, because, of course, he joined on loan to cover Runarsson, who was clearly not good enough. He is now someone that Arsenal want. However, there are supposedly some worrying signs for Arsenal in regards to Matt Ryan's future, because Celtic wants them, or want him, rather. They want to bring him in to be their goalkeeper. Possibly for next, it wouldn't even be as a backup. He would be getting some regular game time for Celtic, and so because of that, it maybe is a much more attractive prospect for him, considering the fact they've got European football and we don't. Maybe that's also something he'd be interested in. He's got a better chance of maybe winning a trophy next season as well, playing for Celtic up against Rangers, although Rangers certainly have dominated things over the last year. So it would be a shame, I think, to lose Matt Ryan, because he is someone that I think provides a hell of a lot of quality for Arsenal. And you've also got the situation with Arsenal about their other goalkeeping situation, of course, with Bernd Leno. We don't really know what's going on with the German goalkeeper. What we do know is that that Arsenal are interested in another goalkeeper, being Andre Onana, the Ajax goalkeeper. Of course, was banned and still is banned. However, you probably saw the news break yesterday that he has been cleared of the last 3 months of his ban, meaning it's been reduced to a 9-month sentence, which means he would be available to play for Arsenal at the beginning of November. Now, the risk that Arsenal take is that they bring in a backup keeper, they sell Bernd Leno, and they buy Onana and say, look, we're going to use our backup keeper until the start of November, which is probably the first, 10 games of the season. Maybe less than that. No, it probably is about the first 10 games of the season, to be fair, which is a lot. It's just over a quarter of the campaign, and that is a lot of games to commit to not playing your first choice keeper in. And some people have said they'd be fine with Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan's a very capable goalkeeper. It just worries me if he was to, say, get injured, then you're left with either a youth keeper or Runarsson. And that's a bit of a problem. So I am conflicted in this one. I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're watching on Playback, then let me know in the comment section. Do you think that you'd be open to seeing Onana play from the 3rd, I think it is, of November? And therefore, before that, see whoever Arsenal bring in as a backup choice. Let's see what you guys are saying in regards to this in the chat box. Samuel says Leno overtook Cech in mid-season in his first season too. He did, but Cech being there is very different to having a backup keeper there. So it is slightly different in that sense. Runarsson probably won't be registered, says Dan. Manu says, what's wrong with Runarsson? With a satiric kind of nature to that question. Matt Thornton says, can see us going for a Freddie Woodman on top of Onana. Me too, actually, because Newcastle obviously got Dubravka, they've got Darlow, they're signing Gunn from Southampton. He is seemingly a bit, what's the right word? Surplus to requirements is what I'm looking for. And I think that he would certainly be a player that Arsenal would look at for next season. And I think they would go into this one thinking about, well, he makes a lot of sense. He's homegrown, coming from a decent side in Newcastle, had a really good season at Swansea last year. So that's something certainly to consider. Let's move on to our next story, which is on Yves Bissouma, the Mali international and Brighton midfielder. Of course, the obsession of the Arsenal fan base, certainly this summer. The player that pretty much, I'd say 90%, and I think that might even be underselling it a little bit, of the fan base would like to see Yves Bissouma come into Arsenal this summer. But we've been hit with a little bit of bad news, I'm afraid, because should Leicester lose Wilfred Ndidi this summer, then Arsenal are reportedly, Leicester are reportedly interested in taking Yves Bissouma instead of him, and basically him being the replacement. They, of course, are looking like they're going to wrap up a deal for Samara from Lille, and they would then reform that partnership that they had once at Lille, of course. So that would be a very interesting signing for them, and certainly a big kick in the teeth for Arsenal fans that are desperate to see Yves Bissouma join the club. I know there is a big obsession around this guy, and trust me, I want the guy as well. I really do. I want to see him join Arsenal. I want to see this guy come to the club. But the problem is that Arsenal seemingly are looking at other targets right now. We've heard about a couple of them on The Athletic. Yesterday, it was reported that Arsenal's interest in Sambi Lokonga has certainly taken more of a momentum and more of a shift towards this one. And I'm actually pretty happy about that. He is very much an exciting player, 21 years of age. We did a whole entire dedicated tactical breakdown on him. I did put a community tab up yesterday about him. So if you want to go and watch that dedicated video on Sambi Lokonga, find out what he's like from a Belgian expert. Belgian journalist gives us loads of insight. JP gives us that. And then you've got also the statistical analysis. We actually directly compare him, I think, to Yves Bissouma in the video too. So there's lots of things to consider in that video, so make sure you go and check it out. Gooner 72 saying, is Onana good enough? Well, again, we've also done a video dedicated to Andre Onana, so if you go onto the channel, you'll be able to find it, and you can see how he statistically compares to Bernd Leno as well. But I think Sambi Lokonga is someone that I am very much happy to see linked with Arsenal, someone that I would like to see Arsenal go for. It's a bit of savvy business. Would certainly be a cheaper deal, half the price, maybe more than half the price of Yves Bissouma. Not that you get a player that's half the player, not whatsoever. It's just the fact he's coming from the Belgian league rather than from another Premier League club. He's even younger at 21. He's not exactly like a youth prospect. He's 21. This is the ages where you really start to kick on in your career. He's already part of the Belgian national setup as well. He is a very exciting player, and I would like to see Arsenal go for him if they aren't planning on going for Yves Bissouma. Let's go on to our next story then. Some people have asked me to make note of the timestamps, so I'm trying my best to do that as I go through, but it is a little bit tricky. Anyway, our next story revolves around Tosin Adarabioyo. Now, I am mastering the pronunciation of Tosin's name now, although I am still going to refer to him as Tosin to avoid any embarrassment going forward. The Fulham defender is available supposedly for around £10 million. A buyout clause in his contract has been inserted after the fact that Fulham got relegated. The former Manchester City defender, England youth international, I believe, is very, very good and has been good for Fulham last season, despite the fact that they went down. It was very much so because of Fulham's lack of goal-scoring ability that they went down rather than their actual defensive ability. We actually have also done a dedicated tactical breakdown show on Tosin as well. So do make sure you go and check that one out as well, because he is a very interesting player to look at and see how he compares defensively to some of our other targets and some of the players that we've already got at the club. Let's move on to the penultimate story of the day, which revolves around one of the other players that could be brought in instead of Yves Bissouma, and that is Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams, of course, is a player that I think when you look at him has done a really, really good job at transitioning from playing in the North American leagues, moving over to Europe and playing at RB Leipzig. Has done fantastically well. I am trying my hardest to get a tactical breakdown out on him within the next 48 hours. It's probably going to come tomorrow morning. I'm pretty sure I've now found someone, I'm not going to tell you who it is just yet because I like revealing that on the show, to help me out with the video. But as you can probably be aware, with the Euros happening, a lot of football journalists are very, very busy right now. So it is tricky to get hold of some people to give me some expert insight on a lot of these players. So it may be that throughout the Euros, it's going to be a little bit tricky to cover the shows immediately with some expert insight. But I don't want to just skip away and skip over the expert insight in these videos, because statistically, yes, you can look at a player and you can get an idea of what they're about and who they are, but you need the eye test. You do need the expert insight on these videos. And so I'm not going to skimp over any quality to try and get the video out quicker. So hopefully tomorrow you should have a tactical breakdown dedicated to Tyler Adams, probably around 3 p.m. UK time. So make sure you tune in for that one. Anyway, in regards to the actual links to him, supposedly Arsenal are very interested in Tyler Adams as kind of one of their primary targets. The fact that he can play as a right back, he can play as a defensive midfielder, and that kind of versatility definitely is attractive to the Gunners. However, there are problems. He has signed a recent new deal, which I think runs until 24-25, and the fact also that RB Leipzig are in the Champions League next season. Why would he want to leave RB Leipzig to move to Arsenal? Well, maybe he wants to move to get some more minutes, but he is gradually getting more time in the Bundesliga. North American international, US men's national team international, really high quality. I like him a lot, and I think he would provide a real good amount of versatility to the club. Anyway, we'll learn a lot more about him in the coming videos, so make sure you tune in for those. Let's kick on to our final story, which revolves around Rodrigo de Paul, the Udinese attacking midfielder. Is someone that I know a lot of you have been asking for us to make comparisons to some of the players you've been linked to because you like him so much. I've not watched a lot of de Paul, and thankfully that's why, fingers crossed, by the end of today, you'll also have a tactical breakdown dedicated to him. But he is someone that I know a little bit about him, maybe more so through other people, and that's why I'm doing the dedicated video on him a little bit later. But supposedly Arsenal are intrigued about this profile. They are looking at him as a possible target. But however, Arsenal are not the only ones. Liverpool are keen, Leeds are keen. There are other clubs around the continent that are also interested in him. I think it would take a ridiculous amount of money. You're looking upwards of around 50 million euros to bring this guy in. However, that is reflective of his quality. What I do know is what I know from doing my own journalistic stuff, speaking to players at Udinese. I interviewed Martin Palumbo, who's a young Norwegian guy playing for Udinese, and we spoke about Rodrigo de Paul, and I asked him how de Paul has basically been like that leader, because he is the captain of the club, and he says that de Paul helped me a lot, taught me many things in my position, how to play, what to watch when you're playing. And he also spoke when we were off air about how much he's been helped by loads of people within the club, including de Paul. So that leadership skill is very obviously there. So you should definitely go and check that. If you want to read the full interview, my interview with Martin Palumbo, I have left a link to that in the description. So please do make sure you go and check it out, because it is a very good chat with Palumbo. Anyway, de Paul is mid to late 20s now, 26, 27, I think. That might even be 28 now. Let me have a quick check of his age. I see Kian's asked me in the chat, 27 years of age, yeah. So he is certainly someone that's he's in his prime and moving towards the couple of years that he's going to be in his prime. So you won't necessarily see loads of improvement maybe from him, but what you will see is someone coming in at the top of their game. And so therefore he's looking to probably take away the number 10 role, so it would be an alternative to Martin Ødegaard, and we will of course be comparing him to Martin Ødegaard. I'm not sure if I'm going to compare him to Hakan Çalhanoğlu. I might compare him to some other players instead, but I think it's important to of course compare him to Ødegaard and to Smith Rowe. But we will get that video out to you guys as soon as feasibly possible. Now, fingers crossed I've got all these timings right that you guys want me to add into these videos. So thank you ever so much for sticking with me through my amateurish amount of time. He's got the pen out, he's got the notepad out, he's making notes, he's trying to do a show, he's reading through comments. I'm a multitasking genius is what clearly is going on. Anyway, we do move on to the final part of the video, which is of course you guys in the chat box asking our questions and going through as much content as we feasibly can. Manu Clerk says, really interested to see where Arteta is going to develop Sambi. I'm not sure. Looks best next to Tielemans. Company calls him jokingly Yaya, as he reminds him of his former teammate, of course, Yaya Toure, an absolute brilliant midfielder, played for Manchester City. if he is that good, or if the rates him that highly, then you can see why plenty of big clubs like Dortmund, ourselves, Milan are interested in this kid. I certainly believe that from what I've seen, and it is a limited amount, but doing the research into him for the tactical breakdowns and stuff, that he is a kid with unbelievable talent and quality. He's already captaining Anderlecht at a very young age as well. So lots to be excited about with him, and fingers crossed Arsenal can get him in. But where do I see Arteta developing him? I do see it more so as kind of the pivot number 8 next to Partey rather than your number 6. I don't think he's as disciplined necessarily in a position as, say, Bissouma is. So maybe it's a signing with the idea of sticking with the 4-2-3-1, which I do think is Arteta's preference. But maybe he has the scope to play as more of a number 6, or maybe he plans on putting Partey in the number 6 role. There are options that we can use, of course, as well. Let's scroll down and get some more of your questions in the chat box. J32 says, shouldn't Arsenal target a cam like Kangin Lee of Valencia? Of course, very interesting player playing for Valencia right now. Still quite young, has done very well there. Valencia haven't done well in comparison to the players that are standing out for them, likely. That can also raise Arsenal's presence in a new market, he says. Spurs with Son. I mean, I'm not always the biggest fan of signing a player just because it opens up necessarily a wider market for yourselves, especially at the Asian market. However, Lee is still a quality player, as is someone like Daichi Kamada, the Japanese international who plays for Frankfurt. I'm not a big fan of saying buying into a player because it opens up commercial links. I think you should look at quality way before you look at the commercial benefit of a signing. However, they are both good players. But I think that De Paul is on another level to those guys. So I am interested about the signing. I'm intrigued by it. I'm intrigued by the fact that if they're going for someone like that and they think he's going to be more value for money than, say, a Martin Odegaard, how highly they do rate him, because I think he costs probably around the same fee as well. Ashton, very funny. Wilson says, what the hell are Arsenal playing at? We need Bissouma badly before Leicester swoop in. I just think there are other options out there. I just don't think maybe he's convinced. I think there is this obsession surrounding Bissouma that obviously Arsenal fans can't seem to get over. So Hill says, Tom, are the De Paul or Paul? I've been saying Paul, but now I'm questioning myself. I'm gonna stick with De Paul. It's probably completely wrong. Are the De Paul links legit? Obviously, all links you have to take with a pinch of salt, mate. It's the transfer window. Anything can creep up on us. It's unreal how hard it is to try and track the reality of a lot of these signings. But there's no smoke without fire. Sometimes is all I'll say, which is a complete cop-out answer, but I can't give you anything. I've heard nothing on my end, so I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, it's 100% true. Gooner, 72 says, we definitely need to target the midfield more than any other area, 100%. Dan says, what is your ideal midfield for next season? I go back and forth, Dan, to be honest. I like the idea of playing with a 4-3-3 with the number 6 and 2 8s. I like the idea of that because I think it would unleash Partey. I also think it would unlock a possible position for Joe Willock to play if we were to put him into the team. And I like the idea of playing with a single number 6. However, the 4-2-3-1 is still very much, for me, a working system, one that allows us to play 2 number 10s in a way, because you can play the number 10 in Odegaard or an alternative, and Smith Rowe maybe more on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, wherever way he wants to play. So I like that system as well. But I think Partey is obviously going to be involved, and then it needs to be 2 signings, whether it's a Ruben Neves, whether it's Joe Willock coming in, whether it's a Bissouma, whether it's a Lokonga. I think there's a lot of scope for Arsenal to add quality in that area. But I'm not going to give you a specific set because I'm still very open-minded just 2 days into the new transfer window. Mohit says, if the recruitment team is skeptical about Bissouma, I can see why. I did see his ball progression through passing was quite low in your tactical breakdown compared to other targets. Defensively is where he comes out very strong. His passing is not necessarily the area that he's best in, but is it the area that we want him to be best in? I think we need a number 6 that's going to be great at recoveries, interceptions, tackling, and all of that. Bissouma comes out really well in. Although saying that, Ruben Neves also comes out very well in his tackling, in his recoveries, interceptions. So it's not someone that you should write off very easily. Efi says, this is why I want Ek to buy the club. This is becoming a joke. I mean, Ek coming in is no guarantee that anything changes, by the way. Obviously, you assume that change is better. It's no different. We don't know So do be aware of that. Obviously, I'd love the Cronkies to be bought out by someone, but just be very well aware that there is no guarantees. Whoever buys the club is going to bring change. It doesn't mean anything. You need to see actual actions. Words are meaningless for us. Dilip says, watching your show from India, one of the best transfer shows along with Charles Watts and Don Robbie. What's your thoughts on India and Indian football team? Just curious. Honestly, Dilip, I don't know too much about the Indian national side. I don't know if I'm right in saying this, that I know that they wanted to kind of invest in that area. Like, it is part of something that they want to kind of look at investing in. You saw like the Indian Premier League, I think. Is it the EPL? That might be cricket. Again, my knowledge is very limited on Indian football, but I'm pretty sure they wanted to invest. You've seen some players move over there and play there that have played in Europe. So maybe it is something that's going to improve. But again, I don't know too much, Dilip, so I'm sorry. I can't answer your question. Owen says, people need to chill out about Bissouma. There are more players than just him. DePaul would be quality and a good age profile to help Smith Rowe progress, which is a very good point of view to have. You don't necessarily buy a 22-year-old that blocks the path of Smith Rowe forever. Also, you can have someone that you can play with, learn from, and then assimilate into the same position. No Sleep says, Asia is a great untapped market for football. It certainly is. Gooner says, agree, Tom. We don't know if Eck and his backers have any more money than Kroenke. Well, they don't have more money than Kroenke. It's just what they do with it. That's the important thing. Ivan says, wait, I'm late. Is Tyler Adams, my American Patriot, being linked to us? I hope so. He's been awesome for RB, and the US men's national team midfield looks so good. Yes, he has, Ivan. The Athletics say that he is linked to us, and hopefully we can give you guys a dedicated show on him tomorrow. Ajit says, Tom, do you really see us putting £50 million for a Cam when we didn't give 35 million for Buendia? Yeah, of course I can, mate. It comes down to whether the club value a player at a certain level. Just because we didn't bid 35 million for one player doesn't mean you're not going to bid 50 for another. It's how the club estimate a value of a player, and if they feel that they don't want to pay that much for a player, then they're not going to pay that much for a player. They don't want to overpay. So if they think a player is worth more, then they will bid the relevant fee that they think he's worth. Whether that's actually what the club will accept is another thing. We know that Arsenal struggled with players that they want to bring in, however, can't raise the value that the club wants. Luis Suarez comes to mind, just for an example. There you go. Here we go. Samuel Broad says, Tom, my friend and I have had a disagreement over Saka. I think he is a baller. Or rather, I think you said both of you think. So do you mean your friend thinks he's a baller, but I think he's had a poor second half of the season? What are your thoughts? Well, whichever of you have said, either way, I think he has overall had a good season. I think he tailed off towards the end, mainly due to fitness, but his performances still were key at big moments in the second half of the season, especially in certain matches. When you look at the Europa League run, he was key in those games. Yes, he didn't have some of the best performances, more down to fatigue. I think he's been a baller all season, mate, to be honest. Stephen says, Bissouma made 74 tackle successes last season, and Neves completed 66 tackles. And Neves is far better on the ball, but people want Bissouma. Last season it's only 8 more tackle successes. It's always best to look across an average across the 90 minutes, of course, because of injuries and stuff like that. But it is a good point. His defensive capabilities are good, Neves, and you can learn about him in a specific tactical breakdown dedicated to Neves as well. So make sure you check that one out. Zach Stacey says, if Leicester wants Bissouma to replace Ndidi, shouldn't we try to get Ndidi? He is the 6 we need and has been the one of the best centre defensive midfielders in the league in recent years. Well, yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? But why would he leave? Why would you leave Leicester right now to join Arsenal is a big question. But we know that Leicester are a selling club. They do sell if your money comes in for a player. But it makes me think, how much better is Ndidi than Bissouma? You need to ask yourself, is the money that you'd pay for Ndidi relative to the difference in quality you'd get for him in comparison to a Bissouma? Is the difference in quality greater than the fee? If it is, then do it. If the difference in quality is less than the difference in the fee, then go and get the cheaper option. That's just the way it works. Gooner72 says 543 of us watching. Surely we can get better than 55 likes. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and those that are supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. If you could drop a like on the video, I would appreciate the love for the 8 a.m. starts every single day. Much appreciated, guys. Shumoy says, it's a pity we are Arsenal fans speaking of Neves, Bissouma, etc., when Chelsea are speaking of Haaland and Hakimi. Unfortunately, Shumoy, that is the situation that we find ourselves in right now because of the poor recruitment, because of the poor appointments, because of the way that we've seen our club decline. That is just, we're not on Chelsea's level right now, unfortunately, in the modern day era. You look at how they've progressed and what they've done, and we need to gradually work our way back to being that. And I mean, at the end of the day, signings like Neves and Bissouma can help us get closer and help us improve and help us to get better. But you're not going to see signings like Haaland and Hakimi. I mean, we were interested in Hakimi and we've been priced out of him. And why would he want to join us over Chelsea right now? It is about gradually improving, gradually getting better. It's really difficult to do it quickly. And I know that we struggle with patience because we've been patient for a very, very long time. And we've been patient during a period where we've gone backwards. We really, really do need to improve the team. And I feel like players like Neves and Bissouma both do that. So it is important to improve and progress. It's also important to bring players through, and we're doing that too. And you need to think about the players that we are bringing through and hopefully the players that are going to flourish next season playing more first-team football. Euro start today. Is there going to be a Chalhanoglu? I'm going to get this right. Chalhanoglu, I believe, is the right way to say it. A watch along, possibly. I am thinking about it. We will see. I might be busy this evening. Speaking of what is going on this evening, though, at 5 p.m, we will be having a Q&A show. It is Friday, so we will do the Q&A show. We'll also be revealing which one of you guys has won the free ticket. I just need to go and quickly double-check which prize it is. That's on this week. If the Pepe prize has not yet sold out, there is a signed Nicolas Pepe shirt that you can win. It has not sold out just yet. Let me throw this up on the screen, guys, so you can see it. And then you can see our sponsors of our Let's Talk Arsenal shows are football prizes, so you can go and win lots of signed shirts, including, here we go, this one, which is a signed Nicolas Pepe shirt. There is only 38 of the 99 tickets sold, which is a crazy amount of how low that is. So if you want to go and buy a ticket and have a chance to win a signed Nicolas Pepe shirt with the certificate of authenticity to know that it is real, you can. And we'll be revealing which one of our members has won the free ticket in the 5 p.m. show, in addition to the results of the Euro TGT sweepstakes. So make sure you tune in for that. Lots of exciting stuff planned throughout the Euros. But one of those is, of course, the sweepstake, which will be revealing at 5 p.m. today. That is going to round off all of the news for today. So thank you so much, everyone that's tuned in. If you have enjoyed it, please drop a like on the video and appreciate the hard work that's going into doing these every single day. Tomorrow will be a 40th show in a row of this series, which is just crazy. And yes, they do, Ivan. They shop worldwide, so you can get your shirt anywhere. So if you want to buy a ticket, you can. They ship everywhere across the world, so that's no problem at all. Our friends Jared Carver, who lives in Chicago, he won a signed Dennis Bergkamp shirt and got it in Chicago. So yes, they do ship worldwide, so make sure you go and grab yourself a ticket. Link is in the description. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I will see you a little bit later on for a tactical breakdown on Rodrigo de Paul, and then a little bit later on after that for the Q&A show at 5 p.m. UK time, and then maybe a watch-along of the Turkey-Italy game, so we can do a little bit of a tactical breakdown on Çalhanoğlu and on Zeki Çelik, and on maybe even the likes of Locatelli and Barella as well, who have been linked to Arsenal as well. But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure, guys, to speak to you as always. And as always, up the Arsenal.